What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Our Voice podcast. I'm Neil.
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Desmond Meade. I'm the Executive Director of Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. And Neil and I welcome you back, especially for those return viewers and listeners, to the Our Voice podcast. And for you new folks that's coming in, man, hey, listen, we glad to have you. Our Voice podcast is specifically designed to elevate the voices of returning citizens or people who've been impacted by the criminal justice system. While there are a lot of other experts out there that may talk on our issues, no one can talk about it like we can. We are the subject matter experts. Ain't that right, Neil?
That's exactly right, Desmond. Man, we've been having returning citizens on the show. We've been getting great tweets and people talking about that they like the conversation. They like where we're going with this. All I know is tonight's is the best one yet. I can feel it, man. I can feel it,
man. But listen, before we move further, I just got to ask you this question. How come you always get to wear all the cool shirts, man?
You know, it's who you know, man. At the end of the day, you know that. Let's say you got to know the people who make the cool shirts. And I know people want to get some of these shirts, but not everyone gets the cool ones.
Oh, wow. Well, listen, I need to find out what I need to do, right? Because I can't even get a shirt like that. That's kind of cool. I love that, man.
Oh, that's cool, man. Yes, our policy team shirts. So, we went on a retreat and we decided to make some shirts because that's what we do, you know, swag it out a little bit.
I hear that. Well, if FRC don't have nothing else, we definitely have swag, y'all. and listen, we have an online store that's going to be coming soon. Please be sure to check us out, our online store. Man, we're going to have all kinds of cool gear there. Stuff that Neil's wearing, stuff that I'm wearing. We got the hats, we got the scarves, we got all kinds of stuff. We even have some shoes and stuff like that.
Wait, man, you talking Let My People Vote shirts? You talking about the whole thing?
Oh, the whole shebang, all of it. So we're going to be doing it.
Coming your way soon, y'all.
But listen, man, we do have an exciting show today, man. We got two dynamic people coming on, man. You know, and I know we said that, like, we always say that almost every week we say we have, but it's true. Everybody that we've been getting on this show have been dynamic in some way or fashion, man. And I know that what we're having today, the people we're having on today, are no different. They are dynamic in their respective areas, man. And actually, both of them are attorneys, man.
No, that's right. They're returning citizens and they're attorneys.
Yeah.
And they're doing stuff right now. I really like it when we can talk about stuff that's like happening today,
well,
you know, because we're in it. Yeah.
It's more than just stuff. They're doing big stuff. Right? I mean, because one of them is an actual elected official, right?
That's right, a state representative, returning citizen state representative who's doing big stuff.
Wow, and I know the other one, man, is a big-time Johnny Cochran type lawyer or something, you know, one of them just fiery speakers that's an attorney in North Carolina that's doing some amazing work, man. So I'm looking forward to hollering at him, man.
No, that's exactly right, man. Cutting it up with these two is going to be a good night. That's going to be fun.
Listen, if y'all missed the show last week, man, let me tell you, we had an amazing show, right, talking about second chances, man, and second chance employment and education and how there's so many programs that's out there. You know, we talked about, I think we probably talked about individuals who, instead of what was that term we used, from incarceration to actually
inspiration?
Incarceration to inspiration to some type of business ownership.
That's right.
Entrepreneurship, right? From incarceration to entrepreneurship. Yeah, returning citizens coming home and making their way out of nowhere, you know?
When we started talking, right, and you find out there's organizations with almost 100 people, all returning citizens. Yeah. I mean, that's what's up. That's people making it happen.
Man, listen, so today, man, I think our first guest, talking about making a way out of no way, man, listen, this woman here, you know, and I know she don't mind me saying we're going to ask her to talk on a little bit, but, I mean, she went from being a homeless drug addict, bro. I mean, think about it. In jail, homeless, drug addict, and today, right now as we speak, she is a sitting representative, right, in the House of Representatives in the state of Washington.
I think about everything that you just said, right? Somebody who was just struggling, man.
Yeah.
Now they got their name on, on the floor of the house, and they got the vote.
Passing laws and all kinds of stuff. So listen, let's bring her on, man. Well, you want to go ahead and introduce her, Neil?
Yeah, well, Tarra Simmons is her name. She is a hero, personal hero of mine because of her overcoming journey and what she's doing with her platform. She is getting stuff done. So, are we bringing Tarra on right now?
Bring her on right now.
All right. Hey, what's up, Tarra? How you doing tonight?
Hey, my brothers. How are you?
Hey.
I'm so glad to be here with you.
What's up, Rep? How you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. I just got back from a vacation with my kids and, took them down to the Capitol and they got to see my office and my desk on the floor. It was amazing. And we had a great trip, spending time with the kids, making up for lost time. So I'm having a great day.
Well, I got to say, we've already kind of talked a little bit about the big contours of your story, but what's it like to bring family in, to places like that? What did they say? How did they react?
That had to be an emotional moment there. Bro.
Gotta be.
They had to, because I think your kids was part of that journey. They spent part of that journey with you, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've been out for 8 years now, and so they served time with me. Bringing them in was such a humbling experience. I definitely, was moved to tears a lot. And then also just really proud that, my family is probably the only ones that are bumping, Tupac and Notorious Big when we're rolling up to the Capitol. When I think about us and our story and our life, it's that's what we want is keep actual people that represent our communities. And, I'm the first person in Washington that's experienced incarceration, and, it was such a missing voice. And now, I get to educate my colleagues who have good intentions. They just don't know because they don't come from the same background. So, yeah, it's been such a humbling and awe-inspiring experience. I'm just, grateful every day.
Wow.
That I had this opportunity.
Tara, let me tell you something, first of all, because I don't even want to gloss over this, right? You said correct me if I'm wrong, but you are the first ever elected member of the House of Representatives with a criminal record.
Yes,
wow.
Absolutely.
Listen, now, I personally don't want to gloss over that because I know that for returning citizens, there are so many things that we think could never happen to us. There's so many doors that we think are permanently closed to us. And I'm willing to go out there and guess that the majority of us, maybe 5 years ago or even 2 years ago or even today would believe that we could never be a representative in the state legislature in the states that we're in. I'm telling you, but yet here you are as living proof that, listen, there's no such thing as impossible anymore. As a matter of fact, if you want to use the word, you have to break it up a little bit and turn impossible to I'm possible.
No, that's exactly right. Tara, I sit there and think about your story. I think about us, hanging out in the community, right? It's what's the role of the returning citizen? So many of us are man, I just got to have my voice heard. I got to, go up there and make sure that somebody who's elected can remotely understand what's going on. And then, boom, what you're doing right now is just shattering narratives all over the place because you can see that it's actually the person with the desk, the person who can vote has been in my shoes before. So, man, you're just I'm so grateful for you.
Tara, check this out. Weren't you down in Orlando a few years ago?
I was. When you were organizing the canvassing for the amendment.
Yes.
I absolutely was there.
So you talking about some on the ground experience. So, and this was before you got elected, right?
Oh, yeah. It was before I even thought of running.
See, that's what I'm talking about. See, so we have a returning citizen or formerly incarcerated person that came together and rocked connected with us here in Florida around Amendment 4 to canvass the communities, to make phone calls, to send text messages, to restore voting rights to 1.4 million returning citizens in Florida. And they took that energy, and somehow or another, I'm going to believe that there was some inspiration that came up out of there. And the next thing you know, she ran for office. Talk about that run for office for a minute.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it was, the experiences I had with you all and with other, of our national formerly incarcerated movement family members that, got me to get into advocacy and introduce, through a legislator, working with a legislator up here to introduce voting rights restoration up here. And, through all of that connections and networking, and then, going to law school and having to fight the Supreme Court to become an attorney, and seeing so many other people, like I stand on a lot of people's shoulders in this whole process. When I first got out, I didn't even think I could be a lawyer. And then here I meet, other people like you all who inspire me, and, other formerly incarcerated attorneys across the nation. But it was all that networking where, legislators started to listen to me and value my voice, and then, supported me and said, we think that you should run. And it, it was my representative here who was retiring, and she says, I want you to be my successor. And I didn't know anything about running for office. I wasn't even really politically active before, as far as partisan politics go, honestly. I was trying to, my issue was criminal justice reform. And so I was trying to, stay out of partisan politics and more, center the humanity and try to get people to buy into my agenda. But, running for office was really, really hard. It was an open seat. So I had, 6 opponents in my primary, and it took, building a community and getting, a really grassroots, community-driven campaign. I decided I wasn't taking any money from, corporations. So, friends from all over the country, including y'all, supported me, and that's how we were successful.
But Tara, you also got some attacks too, didn't you? Because of your history. How did you handle that?
I have been transparent about my history since I got out of prison. I found power. I wasn't going to let the stigma keep me down. I was just going to, share my experiences. I'm a good person. I came from really traumatic childhood experiences. I made lots of mistakes. I didn't know any different until I learned different. And so I decided from the very beginning to be open and transparent. And, so I just didn't let it stop me. I just said, yeah, that is part of my story. And if you don't agree with redemption and second chances, I think you're in the real minority in this country.
That's what's up. What's up.
That is what's up. I feel like it's like the 8 Mile strategy.
Yeah,
right?
I know, right?
No, I'm going to own it before you try and take it away from me.
You know what we talking about with the 8 Mile strategy, Tara?
Yeah, no, is that the Eminem movie?
Yeah, the Eminem movie. You beat them telling your story. Then they don't have any ammunition for you. Yeah, but but I think that it was great because a lot of times, we walk around with this cloak of shame or this scarlet letter of shame attached to our name, and it kind of prevents us from really dreaming big or being willing enough to go out there because we don't want folks calling us a felon or talking about our past. It really does at times it really is painful, and so for you to be able to withstand the attacks and take those attacks and use that energy to propel yourself into victory, I think is commendable, man. And I cannot applaud you enough, Tara, for what you've done.
No, that's right on. And I was listening to Desmond talk there a little bit, Tara, and I was thinking about, I do that to myself, right? I let that shame come back and creep in every once in a while. And I'm really intrigued with the moments in the campaign for you. And maybe this doesn't apply, so if that's the case, that's cool. But I feel like it's a spectrum decision, right? Where all of a sudden you're thinking about it, somebody says something to you. But I'm curious if there was that tipping point moment, right? Where you're like, oh, maybe I'll do it. Yeah, I could do it. Oh, people want me to do it. And then suddenly it's I'm in. Was there a certain time period where you were just nah, fear, you ain't got me, I'm going all in?
Yeah, I'll tell you, my representative who was retiring had asked me, a few years before if I would consider, and I thought, no, when you run for office, like you're under a microscope. It's the longest job interview you've ever gone through.
Wow.
Everybody wants to talk to you and wants to know you, and I knew I was going to have to continuously relive the trauma and like explain and all this. But I'll tell you what the tipping point was. Like 2 years before I ran, there was an election in my neighboring district, and the Democratic Senator Emily Randall, who was supporting me in my Supreme Court fight to become a lawyer. And because she did that, and she was vocal on social media, her Republican opponent actually sent out a mailer to all the homes in her district saying, don't support Emily Randall. She's soft on crime. She supports Tara Simmons, a drug-addicted ex-con who was denied her right to sit for the bar exam and become a lawyer. And they sent that mailer out. And I said, you know what? They're going to talk about me whether I run for office or not. I'm going to go for it, because if my community will elect me, that concrete ceiling will be smashed for other people to follow. And there's not anybody else that's as well positioned as I am to be successful in this campaign. And so I that was it. It was like, they're going to, push your name through the mud no matter what you do. So you might as well do it. And if my passion is policy work and changing laws, and, I've got the experience and the skill set to do that, and the love for my community, I felt like I had to. It was never about me. It was about what God was pushing me to do, and about opening doors for other people. And now I feel it's giving license for more people to see, just like the lawyers who fought and became lawyers, gave me license to live my dreams to go be a lawyer. Me smashing that concrete ceiling is giving license to other people. Like, I might not do this for the rest of my life. It's hard work, but I really wanted to do this for other people.
Well, I thank you for sharing that, like, and telling us kind of the real deal. That was powerful, because I've seen, my view of kind of your walk from afar, and as a friend and a supporter of yours, is that you didn't get into change the name of mailboxes and stuff like that, right? Like, you didn't jump in and you were like, I got stuff to do.
No, man, listen, when Tara got elected, she got in there and put her feet up on the desk and said, I've made it. My job is complete. I can now be like some of these other politicians and walk around with a fancy title and not really do anything. Right?
I got the pin. I'm in. This is it.
Just show up at a book bag giveaway or something like that, or when it comes time for election, make an appearance. That's what Tara wanted to do. I mean, come on, man.
I'm sorry. I thought I saw differently.
Man. Listen, Tara, tell Neil what you did when you got in.
Yeah, so, my leadership was like laughing at me half the time, because they're like, you're a freshman and you're taking on these huge bills, right? So, my first session was pretty difficult because we're, doing it by Zoom because of COVID. And we were limited to how many bills we could introduce. And I introduced 6 bills. They were all really heavy lifts.
Wow.
But my first bill, my freshman bill, was restoring the right to vote for all people as soon as they exit 24-hour confinement in prison. So even if you're on probation, parole, even if you can't pay your fines and fees, it doesn't matter. If your head is not on a state-issued pillow, the next day you are eligible to vote.
Is that HB 1078?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
For all those folks out there who want to Google HB 1078, like, man, this is you're doing the heavy lifting, Tar, getting it through the legislature.
Wait, did she get it through?
Oh, am I? I'm running ahead, aren't I?
Yeah, you running ahead.
Oh man,
I just thought that she just introduced, because some other politicians, they'll do some feel good legislation that they know have no chance of passing, and they're not gonna fight for it, and they'll just introduce it so they can tell their constituents, look, I'm out here fighting for you. Whatever.
People introduce stuff just to say, hey, look at me, what I'm doing.
Yeah.
All right.
So you didn't just stop with the introduction, did you, Tara?
Oh, no. I worked it. I got, I think, 40 co-sponsors to sign on. Out of 98 members, I got 40 co-sponsors.
Wow.
3 Republicans.
All right.
Sign on as co-sponsors,
Bipartisan.
right?
Bipartisan.
Yeah. Yep. I was definitely, wanting to make it bipartisan.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, only one Republican ended up voting for it, and it became very partisan. But we fought tooth and nail, got it through the House, the Senate, and the governor signed it. It was one of the first bills he signed. This year. So,
let me ask you something. What was the main argument that Republicans were making against the passage of that bill?
Oh, well, they thought people needed to pay their fines and fees first. That's part of accountability.
Oh, we don't know nothing
Oh,
about that.
wow. I got triggered just hearing you say that.
Yeah.
I wonder where they got that from.
Yeah. They really pointed to the types of crimes that people have committed,
Mm-hmm.
and lacked any forgiveness for certain offenses.
Mm-hmm.
And our bill had no carve outs. It doesn't matter what your offense is. If you're if you're in the community, you're voting.
Yes.
And so those were kind of the issues that were the biggest, I think. And some crimes have more stigma than others, and then the fines and fees part. But at the end of the day, we really drove home the narrative around what creates a safe community. That's our neighbors are home now. We want them to participate. We want them to not live under a bridge or live in shame or fly under the radar. We want to pull them in right when they come home, regardless of what they've done. They're home.
Wow.
So if your fight is with the retribution part of the criminal legal system, then that's done at the sentencing phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, at the end of the day, we won, and I think our state is better off because of it, and our community and the formerly incarcerated community is better. And it's my way of, kind of still making amends for the harm I've done by preventing more crime, like helping people be successful.
Wow. I'm just envisioning all the people, right? The people whose lives are impacted, tens of thousands of people, right? Who have a fresh, breath of air right now in their life because they get to move on and help create safer communities in the process.
Well, let's not limit it, man. There's tens of thousands, but then what about their family members and
That's
friends?
right. Their communities.
Yeah, and
so everybody's in
yeah.
it, man.
Because at the end of the day, we believe that a community can only be as strong as its weakest link.
That's right.
Right? And so if we're able to empower the people who've been marginalized the most, man, everybody benefits from that.
No, that's exactly
everybody.
Right.
And so, Tarra, so we about to wrap up in a second, right? But your other bills that you introduced, right? What's the word I'm looking for? What was the context of those other bills? Was it around voting or other things as well?
Around other things, one of the bills I got through also was removing restrictions on who can become an in-home care provider based on criminal history. So we see a lot of families, struggling. Grandson is providing care to grandma, but he can't get paid for it because of a criminal record. And so we are removing that. My hope and goal is to constantly be opening up new opportunities for people to get into different professions. And caretaking was one of them. So we got that through. I did one on behavioral health. I really see the intersection between unmet mental health and substance use disorder and, criminal legal system entanglement. And so I created a statewide office of behavioral health consumer advocacy where they'll be identifying and advocating for people that are currently in mental health and substance use disorder treatment centers and identifying systemic issues. So created a statewide office. The bills I didn't get through, which are still alive because we have a 2-year session. I'm working really hard on fines and fees reform right now. And so that's going to be a top priority for me in the coming session. Another one was a sentencing reform, increasing the amount of good time people can earn while they're incarcerated, get time off their sentence. And another one I'm working on and we're ramping up is Survivor Justice Act. So people who are survivors. alternatives to incarceration. Mm-hmm.
Well, for those of you all who don't know, Tarra is also a licensed attorney in the state of Washington, a proud 2017 graduate of Seattle University School of Law.
With honors.
With honors. And when the Supreme Court, when they was trying to deny her the opportunity to take the bar exam, right, she pulled in one of our heavyweight hitters, right, out of D.C., Sean Hopwood, who flew across the country to represent Tarra. And by the time he got through with the Supreme Court, they had no option but to lay down, and they rolled out a red carpet for Tarra. That was a huge. How did you feel on the steps of the courts that day?
Man, I'll tell you, that's still like one of the best days of my life. When we left the courthouse that day, we thought it would take 4 or 5 months for them to give an opinion. That's usually the way it happens. But by the time Sean got on the airplane, they had already issued same-day unanimous decision. And so the form of justice that I got that day was so validating. I never thought a system, heard me before. I've always been on the wrong side, losing in the system. But you know what's so beautiful is that my office right now in the legislature, out my window is a view of the Temple of Justice. So the 9 justices that gave me that opportunity, which really helped me get my current opportunity as a legislator also, I get to watch them all day. They're right across the street from me. My office window faces the Temple of Justice.
So you go from the Supreme Court, from that majestic moment, right, where unanimous decision, almost instantaneous justice, right? Yep. Then you engage the self-government, right? The messy thing that, when we talk about fighting for democracy, we're like, hey, man, we just want to be a part of this whole thing, right? And it's not easy. There's differences of opinion. People come at you from a variety of different ways, to the point where you pushed legislation, meaningful legislation, and then got to go to the governor's office and watch the governor sign that into law, right? How did that fit? Like, that's an incredible momentary bookend as I sit here and talk to you, where I'm like, those 2 moments are really amazing. What was it like to watch that hard work of your leadership pay off in a bill that will create safer communities all across the state that you get to represent?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm just moved to tears. I can't believe I get to be a part of this, considering where I came from. It's just, it takes my words away sometimes, my breath away. I just, I hope other people also get, moved by it and see themselves doing this too. That's, why I keep doing it.
Well, Tarra, listen, we're getting ready to bring on our second guest. You might have heard of him, right? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard of him. But he's definitely an inspiration to me too.
Well, if you don't mind, could you just stick around for a little bit? Maybe we can get a little back and forth going after we talk to him.
Yeah.
But
oh man, so there's gonna be 3 lawyers on this call and 1 non-lawyer, i.e. me. I'm gonna be in over my head.
Nah, it's not gonna be that bad, Neil. It's not gonna be that bad. So right now, Neil, you want to bring up our next guest?
Yeah, gosh, I've been so excited to talk to Daryl. Daryl, are you on the phone? Daryl Atkinson, are you on the phone with us? Oh, I guess we're
getting ready to bring him up, but let's just say a couple of things about him, right? Daryl Atkinson, man, was able to graduate from St. Thomas School of Law, and he ultimately passed his bar exam. He served as senior staff attorney at the Southern Coalition for Social Justice, and he was the first second chance fellow for the United States Department of Justice.
That's big.
That's the Office of the Attorney General, right?
In D.C. That's a big deal right there.
And he was recognized by the White House as a reentry and employment champion of change.
And he's now the co-director of Forward Justice, right, which is in North Carolina.
That's right.
And man, they're just doing amazing stuff there.
Yeah, and we got a connection that we're going to talk about with Daryl, with Forward Justice here. But Daryl, are you on, my brother?
Oh, we're looking over at the team. Oh, they're nodding at me, Desmond, saying that means that they might be talking to him, but I don't know that we're talking to him yet.
We're not talking to Daryl?
Yeah.
Is there a way to pull him up, Neil, on your thing?
Let me see.
How we doing it?
They're gonna bring him in on the line.
All right. Well, while we're waiting on Daryl to join.
Oh, okay, we're good. Hey, Daryl, are you with us?
Yeah, I can hear y'all. Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you, my man.
We can hear you, counselor.
Well, we're grateful for your time. You were on with Neil and Desmond and Miss Tara Simmons.
Awesome. How y'all doing this evening?
We're doing good, man. We're doing good.
Yeah, listen, we can't complain, man. Listen, I tell you, it's an honor to have both of you all on the show, man. We just got through talking with Tara, the first elected person to the state house that had a criminal history. And now we have the amazing barrister. I don't know if you heard me early on, but I called you the returning citizens FIP Johnny Cochran / Perry Mason of today, bro. And you guys just serve as a huge inspiration to so many folks, man. And I know that a couple of weeks ago, you gave amazing closing arguments to secure a victory in the state of North Carolina. And I want to talk about that victory, but I know that there have been some recent developments, and we also want to talk about that too as well.
Yeah, so Daryl, man, could you give us a little bit of background on the case that's literally live going on right now in North Carolina that impacts so many people's lives? And I just want to back up, Des, man. You are a true inspiration and a friend, and grateful that you're taking some time out here to share with people why we see you that way. So hopefully they can get a little bit of that too.
Yeah, I appreciate you all. Bringing me on the show. Just by way of background, in November 2019, 4 organizational plaintiffs and 6 individual plaintiffs filed suit against the State Board of Elections and our Speaker of the House, Tim Moore, and Phil Berger, who's the Senate Pro Tem, both in their official capacities. And our lawsuit made, 4 major complaints. One, that the practice of disenfranchising people who were convicted of felonies, who were living in the community, who were under some form of community supervision, prior to them receiving an unconditional discharge, that practice was in violation of our North Carolina Constitution in a few different ways. One, it violated our Equal Protection Clause by, violating intentional race-based and impact discrimination. 2, that it created an impermissible wealth-based classification with the way that they, set up our fees and fines regime that required the payment of all fees and fines to complete a sentence. 3, that it violated our free elections clause. And, we last September, we won the fees and fines part of the case at summary judgment. So that part of the case was done. And then this August, we went to trial on our intentional race discrimination claims and our free elections clause claim. And during the course of that trial, the State Board of Elections were introducing certain forms that they had changed as a result of the injunction that we had won the previous year that related to which prohibited them from stopping people to register to vote if money obligations were the only reason that they cannot get this unconditional discharge. And so when they were showing the forms, the judges noted on the record that they were still out of compliance with the intent of the original injunction. And so we went back and forth over the weekend, about various types of administrability concerns that the State Board of Elections had with complying with the original injunction. And then that Monday, August 23rd, the court said, well, it's this concept in constitutional law that we had put forth to the court that if you cannot give relief to a smaller class of people that you had previously tried to give relief to, you could give relief to a larger class to ensure that the smaller class got their relief. It's called leveling up. So, for example, it's been done in the gender discrimination arena where previously, like, benefits were only given to birth fathers and not birth mothers for some strange reason. And so the court leveled up rather than deny benefits to fathers. They leveled up to give benefits to mothers. And so we made an analogous argument that because they could not comply, and this is because of the State Board of Elections and their bad record keeping with our Department of Public Safety, because they could not comply with the intent of the original injunction, the court had to level up and give a broader class of relief to the entire 55,000. The court went that way, issued a written order on August 27th. Last Thursday, the Court of Appeals, and our Court of Appeals is I just got to say, call it what it is. It's very partisan. It's about 11-4 of the 15-member court, Republicans to Democrats. Mm-hmm. They stayed the court's expanded injunction, meaning they blocked that injunction. And so we recently filed this weekend to the North Carolina Supreme Court, and, we're for a stay of the Court of Appeals injunction. And now, mind you, all of this is just based on the expanded injunction that the court issued because of the administrability issues that the state board brought up. None of this is on the merits. We're submitting our findings of fact and conclusions of law this Friday, and we expect, the court has signaled that we have a likelihood of success on the merits, and, we'll win on the merits, which will start this process all over again for the legislative defendants to continue to defend a law that does four major things that we proved at trial. The law was, one, instituted with and steeped in white supremacy, racial terror, and racial discrimination against black people, and nothing that the General Assembly has done since the statute was originally enacted that applied disenfranchisement to all felonies. Nothing they have done has removed the racist taint of the law. Two, the law is having the intended impact that it was designed to have, right? It was steeped with racial discrimination and racial terror and white supremacy against black folks, and it's having that impact today. 21% of the voting age population is black people. 42% of the people who are disenfranchised are black. And as far as statewide impact, African Americans are 2.76 times more likely than whites to be disenfranchised in 84 counties where we had sufficient data. The disenfranchisement rate for blacks is higher than whites. Number three, significant people would vote. Significant numbers, thousands of people would vote. Our expert witness found that, looked at the past voting behavior of the currently supervised population and found that almost 39% of those folks had registered in the past. Over 20% of them had voted over 3 consistent presidential elections. So you give our people the right, they will vote. And these vote margins are significant in North Carolina because our elections are decided by razor-thin margins, right? Most recently, we had an election for our Chief Justice of the Supreme Court that 5.3 million votes were cast. The difference between the winning candidate and the losing candidate was 401 votes. So you enfranchise 55,000 people, you're going to get a different outcome. And then lastly, not a single witness, not a single document, no evidence was submitted by the state to justify the disenfranchisement of thousands, predominantly African Americans, every electoral cycle. Nothing Because when you know this, Des, when you infringe upon a suspect class, African American, and a fundamental right, the right to vote, it triggers what's called strict scrutiny, meaning the government has to put forth a compelling reason. They didn't put forth a single witness, not a single document to justify the imposition of this law that disproportionately impacts black folks across the state. So we feel real confident about our case. The record is the record. And even if we have to go through this process in at the Court of Appeals, it's ultimately going to be decided by our state Supreme Court. So we fit for the fight.
Well, Daryl, let me tell you, man, that was good. A lot. Oh, hey, listen, you got to remember, right? You got lawyers on the on the line.
I got three lawyers on the call right now.
Right. But listen, so I just want to try to see if I could summarize it a little bit, right? You basically, in 2019, you all filed suit, said that the state of North Carolina is not doing something right? And when you went to court, you actually was able to get an injunction, right, where the court was ordering the state to fix its system and to allow certain people to be able to have access to vote. Am I correct?
That's right.
Okay. Now,
in September 2020, the state enjoined the State Board of Elections from denying people who, but for money obligation, fees, fines, court costs was their only obstacle to being able to get what's called an unconditional discharge. The state said you can't block those folks from voting.
Okay, there we go. Because I want to make sure, because see, some of our viewers are not attorneys, and so when they hear enjoin, they're like, what, they partying or something?
Right.
You know, so I want to make sure that they understand that. So the state was blocked from denying people the right to vote simply because they may have had some owed some outstanding legal financial obligation.
And this is September 2020, man. We got elections right there going on, right?
And so, and then what happened was the judge in this case, right, just about a week or so ago, because if the state is not able to handle that little task, then what he did was expand the reach of that to make sure, because they wasn't in compliance, to take care of that group of people who fit within that category. So he expanded a little bit to make sure that those people were able to have access to the ballot box.
So that leveling up will cover everybody, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
So the original injunction, we estimate covered anywhere between 5,000 to 7,000 people. Right. That's what we estimate.
How much?
5,000 to 7,000. The original injunction.
Somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 people. Right. That's how it was originally interpreted.
Yeah, and when it was expanded.
The judges looked at the form that the State Board of Elections had changed to comply with that injunction and said, those forms are wrong. They do not meet the requirements of last year's injunction. And we're going to hold you in contempt of court if you don't change them by Friday. That's what they told them at trial.
Wow.
And so then they're scrambling. They come up with all of these administrative reasons of why they can't comply with what the judges said was their original intent. So the injunction in September 2020. That's when we get to leveling up.
Okay.
To apply to the whole class of 55,000 people.
So Daryl, we're gonna shift a little bit, right? Thank you so much for that. But I want to shift because there's two things here. Number one, when the Court of Appeals issued the stay on the lower court's ruling, did you have a flashback? Right, because I know me and Neil did, right?
That's right.
Because we're thinking about the parallels with our Hinkle case down here in Florida, right, where we won on the trial court level, right, and we were rushing out there to register people to vote, and then the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals were like, pump your brakes. We issuing a stay on this order.
And people's lives, real people in that 6 or 7 week period, right, could go from I can vote, can have my voice heard, to like you said, not happening.
And I'm hoping that you had a flashback, because Daryl at Forward Justice, right, when the legal case was going on here in Florida, Daryl at Forward Justice was one of our representatives, or how do you say it? They represented us before the courts.
We were amici in the case.
That's right. They were.
That's a big word right there, amici.
For those of y'all who don't know about amici, that's basically they had our back, right? Because FRC, we're not a legal advocacy organization, right? And so we brought in the heavy hitters, and it was with Demos, and then of course Forward Justice, which was significant because when you talk about Forward Justice, you talk about a legal advocacy organization that's led by a directly impacted individual, that's led by someone who has walked more than a couple of miles in our own shoes, right?
Right on.
And so, Daryl, what was going through your head, when the Court of Appeals issued that stay?
Yeah, quite honestly, there's the human part of me could get angry, or what have you, or be dispirited. But I know this is bigger than me, in the sense that the decision around leveling up, we were not expecting. That just happened. We know we got a strong case ultimately on all our claims, but we know what politics is like and how many of these courts have become so partisan.
Yeah.
We'll see what the Supremes got to say, and whether...
Wait, ain't the Supremes I'm thinking about. There's a whole nother set of Supremes.
Yeah, it's another set of Supremes, because all of our claims are state-based. We won't see any federal courts, right?
Yeah. So
our highest court in the land, which the composition is 7, and hopefully we'll see how it breaks. We hope 4-3.
Uh-huh.
Now, mind you, it would have been 5-2 if the black woman who was appointed by the governor, who was the first African-American woman ever to hold a position, if she would have won last November, right?
Oh, Lord.
And she ran and lost by 401 votes, where 55,000 people could not participate.
See,
you see what I mean?
He's going into
these issues have real consequences.
Yeah, you're going into. You actually touched on a subject that we're going to be talking on within the next few episodes about the importance of paying attention to judicial races, right? Along with other races, and so, but no, we can't go down that route because we don't have that much time. But the other piece, though, is you said that this thing is bigger than you, right? But and I agree with you, but you ain't no small thing either. You know what I'm saying? You have a huge story of redemption, right? And I want to know if you could somehow or another synthesize it, because people need to know who Daryl Atkinson is, and then of course when you do that, you really want to bring Tarra on, because there is a very interesting connection between, or interplay between you and Tarra, that I really want to talk about. Actually, our producer Brandon, he threw this question at me, and so I want to throw it at y'all. But before that, Daryl, man, please tell our listeners and viewers, man, who is Daryl Atkinson?
I consider myself a humble servant. I didn't one day wake up and decide that I wanted, to do these kind of cases and advocate in this kind of way. My life circumstances kind of propelled me in that direction. And in 1996, I was convicted of a first-time nonviolent drug crime. This was 2 years after 94 crime bill that eliminated Pell Grants for people inside. I went in to prison with a high school diploma. I came out with a high school diploma. I had to serve a mandatory 40 months on that 10-year sentence. I was in medium and minimum and maximum security institutions in the state of Alabama. Fortunate enough for me, I had a loving family that I was released to that could provide me food, clothing, and shelter. And I didn't have those immediate kind of Maslow'ian pressures kind of weighing down upon me, and I could think. And I went back to school and got my education, my associate's bachelor's law degree, licensed to practice law in Minnesota and North Carolina. I haven't ever had a client that didn't have a criminal record. Those are the only folks that I advocate for. That work took me to the White House and worked in the Obama administration during their second term. But despite all of those, so-called ticks on the resume, all throughout that time, I was disenfranchised if I moved back to the state of Alabama because I was convicted of a crime of moral turpitude, and I owed over $30,000 on a $50,000 fine. So all of these issues about money and related to the franchise, all of these issues about the racist history of a law, when we know that felon disenfranchisement has been used to, neuter the political power of black people, and, particularly in Alabama, found in Hunter v. Underwood Supreme Court case that their felon disenfranchisement law was, tainted with racial discrimination. All of that stuff I felt up close and personal. So it certainly motivates me to do the work that I do.
Wow. Well, let me tell you, thank you so much for that, Daryl, man. And let me tell you, that's a lot that you've been able to overcome. And we have Tarra up on stage as well. And when we was talking to her earlier, she was talking about the things that she overcame. The connection that I see between you two actually have to do with the whatever charge it was that got you incarcerated. It had to do with drugs, and I think that you all are like on opposite spectrums, right? And so on one spectrum, Tara was addicted to drugs, and her addiction led her down a pathway, and then on the other spectrum, you was moving drugs, right? And that led you down the pathway, but you both kind of like ended up, right, at the same place as attorneys and as people that are doing things to empower other people who've been impacted by the criminal justice system. And so I just wanted to bring Tara back on just to give you a shout out, man, and maybe we can get like a question in or something. Tara, you have anything to ask Daryl?
Yeah, I just want to say, I've met Daryl once. I think it was in North Carolina, actually, and for a convening of some kind. But I remember when I first started law school, like, Daryl was an inspiration to me, and, thank you. I stand on your shoulders for sure. And if it wasn't for people like you at the forefront and in becoming attorneys, now our movement of formerly incarcerated attorneys across the nation is just growing. And I'm just honored to be on this call with you today, actually, because you've always been a huge inspiration to me. And I love the way you move through the world. You're kind of quiet. You're not on social media, so I can't keep track of you. But I know you're out there doing good work. And, I just finished my first session as a state representative and passed a bill around voting rights restoration. So I've been watching what you're doing in North Carolina. And it's just... the world is big, but it's small, and I'm so glad that we're here today together.
No, that's super generous, and I remember the convening that you're speaking of, and just to see that, now, like, I kind of think of these things in periods, right? And for us at Forward Justice, we talk about these periods of Reconstruction. And the first Reconstruction, 1865, 1877, we had the 15th Amendment. The second one, 1959 to 1971, you had the Voting Rights Act, with the expansion of the franchise. And I think with Des and Neil and what those folks did in Florida, because don't think that the case took that away. Y'all did that still. Mm-hmm. That, expanding the franchise, enlarging that we the people. That's what our biggest fights in this country have been about. Who's included in that we? Who's going to have, the right to have a civic voice in that we? Mm-hmm. And so to be electing some of our own people who've been through that experience, right, is like part of that reconstruction. Because when you think about, the first, it was over 1,500 elected, directly impacted former slaves and poor white folks who were indentured service, who were elected to state offices all across the South, right? So, when we think about this new reconstruction and how criminal record has been a proxy for a whole nother kind of caste system, when you think about lawyers fighting it in the courts, folks being elected representatives kind of making the law, when we kind of really transcend is when we are operating in those seats, right? And we're not asking other people to do things on our behalf. We're doing them for ourselves. So, you're on the vanguard of that with the, directly impacted representation, and keep doing your thing in the general assembly.
Oh, Daryl, man, I got to just say, man, you just established this through line, right? Like expanding the we. I mean, I sit there and think about the folks on this call, who work and get up every morning to try and do exactly what you're just talking about, right? That expanding the we, whether it's through a ballot initiative, whether it's through the legislature, whether it's through the courts, deep down, man, real deep. It is about people, and it's about who is we.
I only got one problem with Daryl, though, bro. Daryl talking about expanding the we, but then he turned around and said what y'all did in Florida. When he was down there with Tarra, right, when FICPFM held their conference in 2018.
Are you expanding the we?
Yeah.
That's right.
And so, Daryl, when you talk about what we did in Florida around Amendment 4, man, don't say y'all no more, man. Say we, right? Because if I remember, I seen you bust some sweat when you was down there. And Daryl don't sweat easy because he's a cool character.
Daryl's cool, man.
But he bust some sweat down there, and Tarra bust some sweat, banging on doors and Texas and all that. So no, it's something that, I think that even the work that we do in our respective states, there's some inspiration that comes from each other, and we just feed off each other and use that energy to keep us going. And listen, if you're listening in or you're watching this podcast, right, one of the overarching messages that I need you all to understand is that no matter where you're at, right, you're connected. No matter what you may be going through, no matter if you may see some obstacles in your life, you're seeing people who've been able to not only overcome obstacles, but take those lemons and turn them into lemonade and make a difference in their community. And so there are people across the country that are doing amazing work that's been in the position that you've been in. You've just heard from two amazing folks today on the call, and just know that you can overcome and you need to connect. Is there any way folks can connect with Forward Justice or with you, Tara? Because I know you worked on civil survival, right? Is there any way that folks can connect with you all? Could you share that information?
Yeah, we have a civil survival project. I'm the director of that, and we have a legal aid project there. We're representing folks in Washington and doing advocacy and organizing. And people can email us at info@civilsurvival.org.
That's info@civilsurvival.org. And then Daryl, you're more national, aren't you? With Forward Justice, I heard have a case, we'll travel. That's what I heard.
Yeah, I don't. I think our folks on. I know we got a social media page, but I'm not good at that stuff. So.
We'll make sure to put the links up there, Daryl.
Forward Justice, yeah, we'll make sure we'll put up there. But Forward Justice is not playing. I heard some rumors that they may be going somewhere by the Dixie line to do some work. And so I know that they did an amazing job for FRRC.
Heck yeah, man.
And as a matter of fact, because of the work that Florida Forward Justice and Demos did, you've seen our DNA in a lot of the lower courts ruling, and even in the appeal courts ruling, our DNA was through that, and that was because of the great legal work that Florida Forward Justice does. So Tara, Daryl, man, thank you so much for being on the show. You guys have raised up some good issues that we need to actually have another show about.
That's right.
Especially around the judges. and appreciate the work that you all are doing, man. Stay strong and keep the fight going on.
Yeah, and I just want to say a special thanks because, man, I'm just feeling it. Like, I think there's big topics here, and I also think there's some person listening or watching right now who wants to be a lawyer, who doesn't really feel that they can have an impact, and today was the day that those things changed. So we just really want to thank y'all for spending your time. I know how busy both of you guys are.
It was powerful, man, because when Daryl was speaking, you heard that big thunder and lightning and stuff. I mean, like God was saying, man, you got two superstars on the squad today.
Yeah,
so that was
I think that was a big shout out. That was a shout out saying, "Hey, go to FRC's YouTube page." I believe is what they said. Got to stay on message, man.
Yep, and make sure people are downloading the Fireside Chat app. Big shout out to our Fireside Chat crew. You know, and once again, I always cannot leave the show. Talking about our awesome production crew with Brandon and Xavier.
They do a great job. Y'all are, really appreciate y'all. So thanks, everybody. It's been another great session, man.
Tarra, Daryl, y'all have a great day, man. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
Peace. Man,
wow.
that was and you're right, man. We got to talk judges, don't we?
Man, I tell you, Atara had brought something else up too, man. It's just slipping my mind right now, but there's a couple of things that we should be like really, really diving into and talking more of. And judges is definitely something that's huge, man.
Yeah, but I love how she was like zeroing in on just key piece, and that like little piece of legislation here, little piece of legislation here turns into big legislation that impacts lots of people, man.
The mental health piece, man, occupational license piece. Man, that's right up our alley.
That's right. How about Daryl? No Twitter or no social media, man. Just kicking butt and making a big waves with no social media.
Yeah, he's busy in them law books, man. You know, and that's one thing that I think that's consistent about our guests, man. Whatever it is that they're into it all the way. Right, and they're just like laser focused, and that's what folks have to be if you want to succeed in life. If you want to realize your dream, you have to be laser focused on that dream, and you can't allow the social media or anything else to distract you. And you've just got to stay the course.
That's right.
You've got to stay the course, and so those are two amazing folks. And I'm looking forward to our next guest, man.
We keep saying they keep getting better, but I don't know if they're gonna get better than this one. That was good.
You know what? Listen, I might throw folks for a loop, man. We might have a special guest host. Who knows? Yeah. There's some things that's in the works. There's a couple big things that's in the works, man. We talking about some big name folks, man.
Come on.
Right.
So keep watching, y'all. Definitely. Bring your friends, your family. If this is the kind of conversation that you've been waiting for, let us know. Like, give us some suggestions on who we should invite, because this show's your show. You know, we know that this is about all of us and our lives, and we want to have real conversations that we be having around the dinner table.
Yo, hit us up on the chat, y'all. Hit us up on the chat or on the comments. Let us know who we should be bringing on the show, right? If you want Michael Jordan, put his name in there. You know what I'm saying? If you want
LeBron James,
put his name in there. If you want, you know what? If you want the President of the United States, put his name in there. Because listen, our guest just showed us that nothing is impossible, right? And so I'm not ruling nobody out. What about you, Nick? You want to rule anybody out?
I'm not ruling anybody out. I'm with you. I am with you.
Put the names in the comments. Give us some suggestions on who we should bring on. Even topics that you might want us to talk about. Hit us up. But make sure you tell your friends and family. Download the Fireside Chat app on your iPhone today.
And subscribe to the FRRC YouTube channel. These things come out in video. We make sure to let folks know. But we know that when you subscribe, you automatically get that notification that something else is coming your way.
Yep. And if you think that shirt Neil is wearing is kind of cute, guess what? Keep an eye out for our online store that's coming soon. You might even get some fresh gear like this, too.
I keep hyping to let my people vote. Shirts are going to be there, y'all. I know that you guys want them.
Yeah, we got the new revised edition out, and it's hot. It's fire. According to our producer, Brandon, it's fire.
Double fire.
That's right, double fire. All right, y'all.